In the early days of television, there was a program called You Were There. It was broadcast on CBS and continued for 5 seasons. The narrator was a young Walter Cronkite. The program dramatized major historical events and portrayed them in a way that left you feeling that you were first-hand witness to history. I'd like to do the same for you, help you feel what it was like to be there in history. Not an event in our national history, but in the history of our redemption. The scene is somewhere in what would become the nation of Israel. We will be seeing the moment before the eyes of Isaac. Scene 1. I am homeless. Oh, that doesn't mean I'm poor. Quite the opposite. My father doesn't own any riches in silver and gold, nor does he have a palace or vast tracts of land. But in my day, livestock can be a measure of wealth, and in those days, we were bountifully blessed. My father calls me his child of promise. That is not to say I'm a child. I'm in fact well beyond my teens. I am tall, my muscles are strong and hard, and my beard is fully grown. One day my father came to me and announced we were going to go on a journey. Our servants loaded up several pack animals with food and supplies, and we headed to a place God will show me, to use my father's words. On the 3rd day, as we were about to leave where we had spent the night, my father instructed the servants to remain there. He told me he and I would go up a mountain and offer sacrifice to God, and we would return together. As I said, I'm physically strong, so it came as no surprise to me that my father gave me the task of carrying a large bundle of firewood, and he carried the lamp which contained the fire. I know all about the process of sacrificing to God, and I know it involves animals being killed and offered on the altar. The more I walked, the more puzzled I was. Father, I said. Yes, what is it? I don't understand. I have the wood and you have the fire, but where's the lamp? Where's the lamp? Did you forget? My father was getting old, and sometimes old people forget things, you know. My father kept on walking for the longest time. Then he finally spoke. God will provide the lamb. Oh, I replied, I see. But I didn't see. Many other people in the land where we lived worshipped other gods, and some of them practiced human sacrifice. Fathers sacrificed their sons to their idols. I didn't like the way this was going. The more I thought, the more I worried. The more worried, I became terrified. I began to sweat profusely, sweat pouring off me like blood from an open wound. Minutes went by, then I spoke again. Father, yes, son. I'm afraid. Again, my father took a long time to respond. Finally, we came to a place where there was a large flat rock. He gestured to the rock, and we both sat. Son, I know you're afraid. God spoke to me. Yes, I know, I interrupted him. When you were a young man in the land of Ur, and the land of the Chaldeans, Ur, he told you to leave the place, and he promised to lead you to the land where we live. Yes, that's true, he said, and he kept his promise, didn't he? Yes, I replied, he did. Well, God spoke to me again. Again, I interrupted him. Yes, you told me often, when you had no children and you were getting too old, he said you would have a son, and you would be the father of more people than the stars in the sky. You're right, my son. You are the child of that promise, aren't you? Yes, Father, I am. God kept that promise too. Now, son, listen to me, and don't interrupt me this time. God spoke to me again not too long ago. He told me to come to this place and offer you to him as a sacrifice. But, no, don't say anything. God keeps his promises, doesn't he? Yes, I said in a weak but not too confident voice. And he promised many sons and daughters would be born to our family through you, right? Yes, sir. Now don't ask me how we'll do it, but I promise you, I know with all my heart, when this day is done, you and I will walk down off this mountain together. So be brave and trust the God who we worship. I love you, Father. I love you too, son. Then we prepared to perform the sacrifice. My father bound my hands and feet as we would have done to a lamb, and he lifted me onto the rock. Then he arranged the firewood around me. He seemed to move in slow motion, looking around desperately for some other alternative to what he was about to do, dragging out every second that remained. I saw him turn his head away, unable to bear the sight of his beloved son about to die in his own hand. My father lifted up the knife and was about to do to me what he would have done to a lamb and end its life when, Abraham, Abraham. This time when God spoke, I heard him too. Yes, Lord. Abraham, do the boy no harm. You've proven your love for me. And because you didn't hesitate to offer me the son you love so much, I promise to bless you. Your son will live, and your descendants will be like the grains of sand. My father seemed to let out more voice than a man's lung could hold. He looked up to where the voice came from, and there, with its horns caught in the branches of a tree, was a perfect male sheep. We sacrificed that sheep to God, and then returned down the mountain together. Just like my father said, God had provided a sacrifice, a substitute. We named that place God Provides, and returned to the waiting servants. Scene 2. Time passes on, years, decades, centuries, millennia. In a garden not too far from where that story took place, another father and son are having a conversation. The servants who had come along were told to wait. The son proceeded alone to be with the father. Father, I'm afraid. Yes, son, the father replied, I know you are. But these things must happen. But Father, isn't there some other way? Son, you know we keep our promises, don't you? Yes, Father. When Adam and Eve sinned, we promised that the seed of woman would crush the head of the serpent, giving them hope for redemption. Yes, we did. And when we showed our people that blood sacrifice was needed to atone for our sin, it foretold a Savior to come. The ordeal he was facing was the cruelest form of death ever devised by man. The pain would be intense. A word not yet invented, excruciating, would forever memorialize it in the day soon to come. And worse than the physical pain, the Son who had known no sin, who would be encumbered with the vile collection of all the sins of all the fallen man that ever would or ever will inhabit the earth. At that moment, this father would be compelled to turn away from his son, unable to bear the sight of the burden of the evil that he would bear. Realizing this, the son began to sweat, perspiration dropping off of him as if from an open wound. Yes, Father, it did. And we told through our prophets that the promised Redeemer would die for our sins. Yes, we did, Father. Now is the time to fulfill that promise. Be strong, be brave, and trust me. Father, can't we provide a substitute like we did for Adam, or Abraham and Isaac? Yes, son, there will be a substitute. You are that substitute. You will take the place of the lost men and women so their sins can be forgiven and they can be united with us for eternity. And just like Adam, Abraham and Isaac, when this is over, you and I will be together again forever. I love you, son. I love you, Father. Your will be done.